This is a 2017 Subaru BRZ, the only Subaru that isn't all-wheel drive. Today, I borrowed this car from a friend to show you why I think this is one of the best Subarus ever. After that, I will show you some of my favorite features, take it for a drive, and lastly, point out some of the things you should look for if you're planning on buying one. There are some major things you need to look out when buying one of these, so stick around. You might learn something, or better yet, you may have valuable input to add to the conversation. So make sure you comment below. The Subaru BRZ is a front-engine, rear-wheel drive sports car co-developed with Toyota. This is an important piece of information, so pay attention. Now, let me tell you how this car came to be. Akio Toyoda, the grandson of the founder of Toyota Motors and a true motorhead, became Toyota's CEO in 2009. After many years of block cars, he wanted to bring up a fun lineup back into the Toyota brand. Toyota had been toying around with the idea of a cool sports car, and in 2007 released a concept, the FTHS. Toyodasan said, take that concept, add a little bit of the S800, a pinch of the 2000 GT, and a whole lot of the AE86, and voila, Project FT86 was born. In 2008, Toyota bought 17% of Fuji Heavy Industries, which includes the Subaru brand. Toyota approached Subaru with this amazing rear-wheel drive sports car idea and said, hey, what do you think? Subaru said, rear-wheel drive? No, thank you. Then Toyota said, pop the hood, 2JZ, no shh. I made that last part up. But the other piece is true. Subaru rejected the project because it conflicted with their reputation for all-wheel drive vehicles. Toyota knew that to make this project profitable, they had to partner with someone. So they kept working at it. And in about 6 months later, they invited journalists and Subaru to test drive a prototype. Subaru was so impressed with the prototype that they accepted to get further involved in the project. Toyota brought in the design, direct port fuel injection, and engine building techniques to build one of the best boxer engines Subaru has ever made. Subaru brought in their boxer engine and their chassis know-how that they gathered from all of that racing experience they've had at the World Rally Championship. The results speak for themselves. Together, they developed a Miata that is manly, roomier, more practical, with a roof, all in one car. Amazing. In 2013, Toyota went on to sell this car in the US as the Scion FRS initially. The rest of the world got the Toyota 86 or GT86 or the FT86 depending on which country you were in. Then later, when Toyota decided to kill the Scion brand, they rebranded the car as the GT86 here in the States to match the rest of the world. Subaru went on to sell the car under their brand as what you see here, the Subaru BRZ. Both companies did their final tuning touches separately and independently, so there are some minor differences in the driving feel, but most likely you won't be able to tell the difference. Both models came equipped with a same 2-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine producing 200 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. Both came equipped with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed auto borrowed from the Lexus ISF minus 2 gears. And then a few years later, since launch, both companies released a facelift, a couple different special editions runs, and the power was increased by 5 horsepower and 5 pound-feet of torque. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's walk around the car. Let's take a look at the interior where I'll show you some of my favorite features. After that, we'll take it for a drive, and lastly, I'll show you some of the things you should look for if you're planning on buying one. The first feature I want to show you, and one of my favorites, is actually right in here in the engine bay. and it is this diaphragm right in here. What Toyota actually did was they designed this diaphragm to inject some of the noises coming out of the engine right into the cabin, but without sending in the fumes that you can get from the engine compartment. It's actually a great idea. Some people think this is fake sound, but it isn't. It's actually taking the actual sound from the engine, injecting it right into the cabin to give you just a little bit better of a driving experience. The next feature is actually on the back, so follow me. So besides the actual complete rear end of the car, which I think was stylized nicely, it's a really nice looking rear end. I think one of my favorite features right here is this fog light. It has the reverse light included, and this is I think a European requirement to have this light here for foggy days. In the States we don't use it, but it's reminiscent of that F1 car look, right? I think it's a pretty cool design. It just gives that little bit of a nicer touch to the rear of the car with the dual exhaust tips here. It's just really nice. The other piece I wanted to talk about was just the design overall. It's well proportioned. Now it doesn't look exactly like that really cool concept that they showed us at the New York International Auto Show, but it looks really nice after the fact. They didn't really screw it up too much. It's very reminiscent of the 2000 GT in certain areas, with a lot of modern elements, cool looking headlights with running LEDs. I think it's a very nice, well proportioned, very good looking car. Next, my other favorite feature is actually inside the cabin, and it is the tag. I love how they have centered the tag right in the middle of the dash, facing directly in front of you, because, you know, this is a track car. What you want is to make sure that you know where your RPMs are. Who cares about speed? Nobody keeps track of that. Another thing I really like is the engine start-stop button, which is right in here. You have your key fob with you. You want to start the car, all you got to do is press this little button here, because who doesn't like to press buttons to start your engine? And lastly, there's another feature here on the dashboard. You have a small screen that provides you a lot of information, and one of those things is a lap time and a G meter. I think it's pretty cool, especially because Toyota and Subaru, they knew that a lot of people were going to be tracking these cars, either you know, for autocross or track days. So they have integrated a lap time timer and a G-force meter right in the dashboard. I think it's a pretty cool feature to have. You know, when you go to different track events, you want to make sure you can keep track of how you're improving along with the car. So that's it for my favorite features, but now comes my favorite part, the drive. All right, so here we go for the drive.
Is your foot on the clutch?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how you start it.
Is there something open?
Steering
lock.
Oh, I think you locked the wheel.
What is that? So how do I do it?
There we go.
Oh, you have to unlock it and then you start it.
Yeah.
Okay. Why wouldn't it unlock the steering wheel right away? I guess because it was on that one angle that's really tight and you have to undo it. Okay. Well, you can definitely hear that aftermarket exhaust right away, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe it's my shoes, but it's not working right for me. some better driving shoes. But you know, a lot of people complain about the power in these cars. But I think for what this car was designed for, which is to have fun, hit some back roads, the power is really not too bad. The problem is that people get centered around going in a straight line, and there you have a problem. When you go in a straight line, yes, it is power deficient. I think 250, 300 would have been perfect for this car. You would have the right power to weight ratio to be able to hit some good speeds in the straights, so all the naysayers and all the crybabies crying about that this car doesn't have enough power would be content. And you know, you still have a lot of power for the corners, and that would allow you, I think, to get better tires on the car for better grip, better traction, and be able to, you know, make it a lot quicker. But you know, I always suggest that people try out a car like this and hone in their driving skills, develop themselves as a driver, and then progress to something better. But you know, for everyday driving, for hitting some back roads, a car like this, it's the best. I mean, it is so much fun to drive. Again, my heel toe is not working right here. I think it's my sneakers. But you know, the brakes are pretty good. The shifts are, you know, very nice. It feels great. I mean, I can really, you know, put this car exactly where I need it. I'm not worried about it. I feel very comfortable. It is truly amazing, the work that Toyota has done around in this car.
That's what you get. Some of the back roads around here. But it is very confident, the car itself, and it gives you the confidence right back.
Let's go slow on this one, because this is not a very good road.
But you can tell that this car was built with a purpose.
It was built for a purpose, and you know, for everyday driving, I hear what you're saying about the noise inside.
Yes.
But you know, you got to remember what this car was meant to do. When you start to add a lot of sound deadening, a lot of insulation into a cabin,
yep,
you start to add more weight.
Yes.
And not only that, but you take away the feel of the experience.
Correct.
The good thing about, you know, this car is that I can feel a lot, which is good. It's exactly what I want to do when I'm driving.
Yes.
I want to be able to feel, you know, the road. I want to be able to feel, you know, what the tires are doing right now. And I feel like I have that proper feedback with a car like this. Whereas if you start to insulate the car, it's probably not you know, ideal for the driving enthusiast.
I have this car because it was recommended to me by you. I think because I told you I love driving, and the windier the road, the better. This car with...
Nobody listens to me. Why would you listen to me? That's mistake number one.
So no, I actually, this being almost like a boutique car, they don't sell very many of them. I had never heard of this car before, and you and I had a discussion around what this car is, what it can do, and
the intent of the car.
The intent of the car. I don't think you can beat it for handling. The steering is superbly crisp. I tell people that this car makes turns boring because you can put the car into a turn at almost any speed and pick any line you want through the turn. It can make up for a bad driver. It's a very good, very controlled, very confident car.
Yeah, it's a very capable car.
Yes.
I drove one of these when it was a pre-production model. Went out to Maryland to a little kind of like an autocross event,
right,
that Toyota put together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unfortunately, all of those cars were automatics. For safety reasons, they didn't want anybody driving one of those
I guess
as a manual, but it it was still a very fun day with these cars. So the first thing you notice when you get in one of these cars is the seating position. It's absolutely, it's great. I mean, so when Toyota and Subaru were designing these cars, they were benchmarking the Porsche Cayman, a car that is really at least twice the price of this one. So, you know, goes to show what they were aiming for. And it shows when you sit here, you feel like you're properly positioned. The steering wheel is high enough, angled towards you, nice and straight. You're looking at the tag right in the middle, which is where you want to be. When you want to maneuver, which this car maneuvers really well, and it's got great response as well in the steering. This is what you want to be. You want to be right here where you can maneuver the car properly. The shifter is great. You actually, you know, have very short, nice short throw, and the steering wheel, it's actually really nice. It's I think it's almost perfect. It's a good size. The thickness is pretty good.
Right. It's got some weight.
It's got some weight.
It's got lugs in the right spots. And I think you may know better than I, but I think this might be the car with the lowest center of gravity.
It's like 17.5 inches,
something like that. The center of gravity is very low.
Yeah, that boxer engine contributes to that because it helps keep all the weight really, you know, nice and low.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great car and a great value. If you think about what you're getting out of this car,
right,
and you know how much you would have to pay to get something similar, the price difference is huge. There's really nothing out there. You have the Miata,
right,
and then you have a car like this. Everything else is going to cost twice as much. And I don't know why manufacturers aren't building more cars like this. You know, where you can have all these different things that enthusiasts really like in a very, you know, efficient and affordable package.
It's the lawyers.
It's the lawyers, exactly. And now you are really pumped and excited to buy one of these. So allow me to highlight some of the things you should look for when buying one. I made a video to show you general things to look for when buying any car, like body shape, signs of wear, leaks, etc. The link is included below. Use that as your starting point, but now let's dig into things to look for this car specifically. Keep in mind that it's never a bad idea to bring along a car-savvy friend who is familiar with these cars to help you look for things. If you find one that you have your heart set on, I would also recommend that you get a PPI or pre-purchase inspection done by an experienced car shop or a Subaru dealership. It will be the best $150 you spend on the car. Right, so now let's jump right into it. Oh, remember at the beginning when I said that there are some major issues that you need to look for when buying one of these? Well, I kind of lied. Just kidding. There are a couple things that you should look for when buying one of these, but you got to remember that at the end of the day, this is a Toyota Subaru product. It is going to be reliable. You're not going to have that many issues. And if you do have some issues, they're probably not going to be very costly. Now, with that in mind, there are a couple things that I do want to point out. The first one is actually the fuel pump. You got to remember that Toyota introduced their new DS4 direct fuel injection system into this car. And as such, when you have any kind of new technology, things can happen. There's issues, there's bugs that have to be worked out. And, you know, there seems to be a frequently or a more common issue with the fuel pump. You got to remember, fuel direction, the fuel is getting injected right into the cylinder walls. So you have to have a very powerful fuel pump. So because of this, because you have to have a very robust fuel system, I think typically your fuel pressure, it's 25 to 3,000 PSI, which is, that's a lot of pressure. So you have to have a very robust fuel pump. And what happens is, as anything, you probably have a fuel pump that wasn't fully developed, and you might have a couple of issues here and there. If you look at the percentage of issues, it's really not that many, but it might be good to have the vehicle checked over just to see if you had the fuel pump problem. The other thing I want to talk to you about, it's right here in the middle of the car, but down below, is the transmission. Keep in mind that these cars attract a lot of younger buyers. It's a cool, modern car, sporty car with a manual transmission. What happens is a lot of people buy these cars, and sometimes it's their very first manual car. So because of this, you're gonna have the people are gonna be grinding gears, granny shifting. They're not gonna be double clutching like you should. Internal joke. So what you want to do is you just want to make sure that the transmission is shifting properly and is running through all the gears, and you're not having any issues without any of the gears. They should all be consistent. They should all be the same. So keep that in mind, because the transmission can be a very costly repair if you have to replace one a few years down the road. And that is mostly it. If you are looking for one of these, make sure that you get the color that you want with the features that you want. Other than that, it should be mostly a worry-free ownership. And there you have it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that you find this video helpful and informative. If you do, give it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. If I missed something, please comment below. See you on the next video. We're not gonna be able to do a burnout with the cops are over here. Now we can.
Yeah.
He left. He ain't coming back.